What is happening, people? Welcome back. It is Scarfy Spurs Talk here, back after the international break. Thank goodness it's over. But having said that, Spurs are back. Today, I'm joined by a fantastic panel as we preview West Ham. But before we also do that, just go over the season so far. Always a good period. When you get the international break, though, it's over. Spurs not in action as we speak. Maybe we will be the time this comes to you when you listen. Firstly, making his debut on the show, Ryan, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. Thanks for having me on. Just looking forward to going through the highs and lows of Spurs as usual. But yeah.
As usual, thank you very much for joining me this evening. Another debut tonight, The Right Show. How you doing?
All good, all good. Thanks for the invite. The love of the pain of Tottenham is always there.
Yeah, always there. No, thank you very much for joining us this evening. And Connor, thank you for coming on once again. How you been doing?
Yeah, not too bad. I like doing this, so thanks for having me back on.
No, thank you very much for agreeing to do this. Kallum will be joining us a little bit later as well. I believe he's having a cigarette, typical Kallum. So, we will get started. We won't wait for him. Even though I gave him the showtime, but we won't worry. Callum's loyal to the podcast. But if you find you the channel, don't forget to smash that subscribe button. It's free to do so. And it helps the channel and the podcast grow. If you're listening after on the podcast platform, don't forget to drop us a follow and a 5-star review. Check out our sponsors and partners, the Kitman, where you can get all your genuine classic past season retro football shirts, short scarves, and all for affordable prices. So it's really, really good. You get it from former players, etc., and some real retro stuff in there. And if you use the coupon, in particular Scarfy15, you get a 15% discount. All of you do. So there we go. We will crack straight into it. And Ryan, I'll come to you first. Sorry to do it to you, but looking back on Brighton, now the dust has settled, as I like to say, what are your thoughts on that game? What went wrong?
Yeah, such an interesting one, really, because I think despite all the Spursy tags that we've had in the past, I think if you'd have told me at half-time that was going to be the result, I think I definitely wouldn't have believed you. I think the first half was probably some of the best football we've played all season. And we just looked confident, good on the ball, in and out of possession, defending well. And then I think the second half, just as soon as that first goal went in, we just looked shell-shocked. And there's a big problem. I think it was similar against Leicester when Leicester equalised. And there's similar reaction there. But it's something that I think Ange's got to figure out, because I don't blame Ange. I would probably blame the players, but this seems to be a common Tottenham theme of we win so many games on the bounce, we're on top of the world, and then we just seem to crumble, and then all momentum's lost.
That is always the way with Spurs. No, I think that's nicely put. As you said, nobody really saw that coming, did they? At half-time, realistically, we saw maybe Spurs make it uncomfortable, as we do sometimes in the second half. Brian getting a goal back. I don't think any of us saw Brian probably not even get anything from it, to say the least. But to go on and win it as well it's bad, whatever way you look at it. But Connor, what are your thoughts on the game looking back? Is there anyone you point the blame to? I mentioned, Ryan mentions there, Ange, the players. Is it a combination of both at fault? Just look at it and go, it's one of those things. Fabian Hertzler changed quite a few things at halftime for Brighton, and credit them also for getting back into it.
Well, I wouldn't put the blame on Ange, because we've seen this before under different managers, and it always seems to be that it's more of I think it was more of a mentality thing. There was nobody there to kind of get everybody under control and make sure we just got on with the game. But I think after you saw, because if I remember it correctly, it was Romero took a swing at it. The ball's he didn't really get much clean contact. And then it was Udogie, who, again, couldn't really get much clean contact. And that was one mistake. And then all of a sudden, we're just under the cosh and under pressure for the rest of the game from Brighton. I think after that first goal that Brighton scored, I could kind of see it coming. Maybe not to the extent that it happened, but we completely capitulated under the pressure. But echoing what Ryan said, as for the first half, I was really impressed. I thought it was a brilliant performance, one of our best. I actually got to go to a few games. I don't always get to go to as many, but yeah, the last few games I went to the Brentford one, and I thought that was excellent as well. And that was a few good performances in a row. So I'm not too worried at the moment. No.
Okay. You're looking at the bigger picture. No, I think that's really important. No, thank you. It's really interesting to get that side of it as well. So thank you, Connor. Justin, what do you make of that Brighton game? Looking back on it now, can you kind of believe what happened, how it unfolded?
Yeah, see, I'm 36, so I've seen Tottenham do this type of thing too many times in my lifetime. So to be honest, as soon as that goal went in, I had that horrible feeling. I just had that horrible feeling of I'm about to see Tottenham do that Spursy madness again. It's a shame because I kind of blame the manager just on the reaction time of as soon as the first goal went in. It was like, okay, you might need to just change some heads here, just so you've got some fresh faces on who's going to try and do something different. But really deep down, we should have written them off. So it was a challenge to watch that, fully knowing what could happen if they go and get another goal. Because I thought as soon as the second went in, I just couldn't see us doing anything. I just felt like the majority of the players dropped what they needed to actually do and step up. And obviously, it's all on the players who are on the pitch. There's nothing too much what Ange can do. But I feel like he should have maybe just tweaked it just a little, just to get some fresh faces on, couple faces of people who are trying to do something. So like a Mikey Moore, even a Spence, just to switch it up a little bit.
Okay, no, it's really interesting. I completely agree with you. Actually, I think that whoever you think is Ange or the player's fault, I think the reaction to substitutions should have been quicker. I'm not necessarily questioning the changes itself, but Brighton got that goal back. Then they made it 2-2. There's a couple of opportunities when you see the tide kind of changing, if you like, swinging in one direction. It is, I think, time we could have changed it. Even when Brighton got the third goal, there was still a 5-10 minutes, I think, before there was a response. So I think that's really nicely put, Justin. Welcome on to the podcast. Better late than never. We will forgive him, though. Kallum, how you doing?
Yeah, no, I'm good, mate. Evening, gents. How's it going? I'm sorry you have to put up with me tonight because Harry's stuck with me for the rest of the season.
Yeah, it was a mistake, wasn't it? But no, thank you very much for joining us this evening, Kallum. No, I don't mean it at all. Don't worry. I'm going to throw you straight in there about what we're talking about, and you're not going to like me for it. He's Brighton, and I know you were on last week's show, and we did discuss it. But briefly looking back on it, has anything changed for the way you look at it? Justin mentions there about Ange and the whole reaction to the substitutions. Is he also responsible? Is it the players?
I think we was all in agreement last week, wasn't it? That it was a bit of both. Players not stepping up, manager not being reactive as such, just letting the game play out, thinking maybe he had some hope to go there as well. But no, to be honest, mate, my opinion ain't changed. It's been the same rhetoric as we've gone with that I've spoken to a load of people about. It's that it's equal blame across the board, and the manager has to take responsibility for stuff, but the players have to step up. They're the ones that are paid the big bucks at the end of the day. They're paid over 50 grand a week. I think if all of us were paid over probably a couple of grand a week and all that we'd have a lot more integrity when it comes to that. And so, I mean, if we can go for that, and I'm like one of the older guys in the pod tonight that literally is definitely that if I got paid that money, I'd play my heart out, even if I probably passed out after half an hour and all that from smoking for so long. But you just have to kind of go with that, and you have to go, no, you have to step up to the plate. And these players are playing in the Spurs shirt, they have to play for the badge, and ultimately the mistakes are still there. And it seems to be with that badge comes the constant mistakes, don't it? Every single season we seem to have the same conversations as we do go along for it. But if obviously that's just purely my opinion and what a couple of other people have said, but the whole point of it is that we thought we were plain sailing on that game. It turns out that we turned ourselves into the Spursy again. We got complacent, we got comfortable at half time, thought job was done, and it's ultimately where we need to show a lot more maturity as a team as well. And Ange will have these results. I don't doubt it, because he had it with Celtic. He's had it with Yokohama and all them. He's had players that haven't always followed his line, or they've let him down. And ultimately, he needs to be kicking them up the backside and going, you lot are playing for me. You're playing for Tottenham. You need to do it. And I think that for all the hard work that's been put in over the last 5 or 6 weeks to try and get us forward, it's always 2 steps forward, 3 steps back. That's the problem. And it's the rhetoric for any Spurs manager. I think you get a run of games going, and I may sound like an old broken record, but it's literally the same. I've been there, seen it, done it so many times now that it doesn't faze me anymore. You just have to go with it. And I've lived through the days of seeing Martin Jol with his young up-and-coming team. I've then seen Ramos and all of these rubbish as well. I've seen Sugar run the club. I've had all of these different people. I've seen Levy running the club into good times and bad times as well. I've seen so many different bits, and it's just one of them that they have to act like adults and not like children, and actually own up to being that as well, to be honest, mate.
That's interesting. Okay, definitely shared responsibility. I'm under the impression of your answer there, and I do agree with you. And you mentioned one day Ramos there. That actually perfectly leads me on to our next point about kind of reviewing the season so far, because this is our lowest points total after 7 games since one day Ramos was in charge. That's about 16 years. Ryan, I'll come back to you. What are your thoughts on our season overall, if you had to summarise it? The first handful of games you've seen, and it feels strange to already have 2 international breaks in such a short period of time. Actually, the season hasn't been on that long. Does that stat concern you?
I think it depends how you look at it, really. If you look at it from a results perspective, which is obviously what at the end of the day we're going to be judged on, it doesn't look too good. We've obviously thrown results away. We've had some bad results, but if you look at it from a performance perspective, how players have developed over the course of the season, I think there's lots of positives to take. And obviously Brighton last week was really, really poor, and it was a terrible result. And obviously Ange said it's the worst game he's had in charge of Tottenham. But we can't forget that first half, and there were some really, really good things to take from that. And I think you have to look a little bit more deeper into that loss. It might be 0 points, but there are definitely things we can take from that. And you could say the same about the Leicester game. Even the Newcastle game and the Arsenal game, we were rubbish in front of goal, but we were really good keeping the ball, really good in possession. And since then, I think we've improved. So it depends. It depends how you look at it. I personally think we're on the right track. I think we're moving in the right direction. And yeah, if we can just make that into a few more points and a few more wins, then I think we'll do all right.
No, thank you very much. I'm glad you've actually raised that, because it's so easy to look at it and go, that's a bad loss. And it is not just a result, even before the game, but the manner, I think, is really frustrating. But you make a really good point. That first half was really good, and there's been times this season, I agree with you, performances have been really good. So I like the kind of approach from you. You think we're on the right path. So no, I do really appreciate that, Ryan. Justin, what are your thoughts on our season overall based on what we see? Obviously, I did read out that stat there that ACO is our worst start based on points in 16 years. Does that concern you at all? Or are you under pressure with Ryan? Do you think that we're also on the right track? It's too early for stats like that.
To be honest, it all depends on our owner. That's what I always look at. But if our owner's trigger happy, then what can we really do? Me personally, I actually think that our style of I like attacking football. I like just gun-ho attacking football. Score more goals than the other team and you win, innit? Whether it's 7-5, I couldn't care. I just want to win and destroy a team. So I like what he's doing. I can see the progression. I can see the movement with the players, a lot more understanding. I can see he's tweaked it defensively to not be as open. But either way, we're gun-ho football. So we're going to let in goals. That's just going to happen. No matter how good the personnel is going to be in our system, he wants you to keep moving. And until the players fully got into it that, okay, that position's open, I have to cover that. And that's until the players are like that, yeah, we're going to have a little bit of a problem. But I see positives. It's too easy to be negative around Tottenham. It's the easiest thing to always find something wrong. But let's be real, we haven't had all our players at all the time. And we went with Brennan with his ups and downs as well. Then we've got Timo right now, whereas Timo last season, he was getting assists early on. Whereas this season is flopping chances. So I don't know. I see more positives than negatives, to be honest.
I like that. No, again, I really like the positivity. So thank you for that, Justin. Connor, are you with the guys so far? With Ryan, with Justin, that again, we are on that right path. It's important to also bear in mind the positives. Or you, like, a few other fans, quite a few fans, and look at the table and go, that is concerning. None of us really thought, did we, realistically, and that our start would be as good as we had last season. But is it worse than you would have thought, Connor?
I'm not worried because the thing is, I know I hate to be that guy, but if you look at all the stats, we are actually putting up some of the same numbers as some of the other teams. Before the Brighton game, we actually have one of the better defensive records in the league. I think everything I said to, I'm trying to think who I said to, but I said to someone recently, I said it's all going to click. There's going to be a point where it all clicks, and that was when we was on a bad run, and then we played Coventry. We won that game. And then after the Brentford game, I say things started to click and we started to play well. There will be bumps, but I do think we're fine. I think it's only been how many games in 7, isn't it? Just wait. You'll see. We'll do better. And the thing is, it's only Ange's second season, and all the pieces to the puzzle aren't there yet. So I just think give it time, and I think we'll be fine.
Yeah, okay. Well, in the chat are of slight different view. Ash in the comments in the YouTube chat says players are overrated, not versatile, and not motivated. And also makes an interesting claim about it's time to bench a doggy. We go on to the kind of discussion who should be dropped, who should be rotated as we move on to West Ham. But appreciate you raising the point, Ash. Kallum, what do you think on our season so far? Again, we have spoke about it before, but summarising it, now you've had time to think, you've had the pleasure or not pleasure, should I say, of watching England under Lee Carsley. Does it make you feel a bit more grateful, maybe, that we're not maybe as bad and as vulnerable defensively? I don't quite know. No, all jokes aside, what's your thoughts on the season so far? 7 games into the league season.
It could be worse. It could be better. Like all the guys have said, we kind of all have this aspiration that this project will work out. It's why we signed Ange up to a 3+1 year contract throughout all of it. So we was going to have time. It's all about patience as well. And a lot of people being very much following the same rhetoric that, we can't win now, so we've got to change it. Well, we've been through all of that before. And to be honest, yeah, I'm the same as like Justin said. I like to see all the attacking football. Yeah, we'll concede goals. We'll do this. We'll do that. We'll keep going again. There's been good results this season. There's been very bad results as well. Or there's been results where I think that we really thought we were better than we actually was as well. I think that if we're going to go with it, we have to say that what is there anyone really better out there than we can actually get as a manager? To be honest, I mean, there's been a rhetoric going on Twitter the last couple of days since Mason got linked to the Anderlecht job, going, well, if Ange leaves tomorrow, should he become our new manager? I'm just like, who the hell comes up with this stuff? I mean, it's literally like he's not even the assistant coach anymore. He is literally just a coach for the club. So, I mean, you have to think, yeah, we've had not a great start. There's been good results, though. We are 3rd in the Europa League table out of this new stupid format. We are through to the next round of the Carabao Cup. We are still in all competitions. I mean, by this time last year, I think we'd already gone out of the Carabao Cup, hadn't we? So we're actually better than where we was. Yeah, we're not great in the league, but I mean, realistically, we've had some iffy games as such. And to be honest, if you're going on league standings by now, well, I mean, we might as well just call it call it quits then, because anyone who's predicting the Premier League table from now must be living under a rock.
So you're still confident? You're still confident we're on the right path?
Which is just ridiculous in their life. Yeah. Yeah, I reckon we need to stick by it. If we look at it until January and say that, yeah, we're doing really bad, then that's potentially when the ownership will become reactive to it. But from a fan's point of view, it's 7 weeks in. Come on. I mean, that's 7 Premier League games, 2 Europa League games, and 1 Carabao Cup game. So that's 10 games altogether out of most likely we're going to have a minimum of 50 to 55 games this year. You can't measure anything on that unless you're Man United and Ten Hag. Well, then that's just a sinking ship altogether. So that's just a problem altogether for other fans. But no, you know me, I'm usually quite morbid with my views and quite hardline. But no, I feel, yeah, I was miffed off and very annoyed after the Brighton game because I thought, here we go again. But no, after having 2 weeks to process it, might as well go again and see where we are going forward and all that. And we can only back the manager and back the club because we've got nothing else to back at the end of the day, can we?
No, okay. So this is a good, interesting way of looking at it. No, thank you very much, Kallum. You summarised a lot of things there. I want to move on, though, to player of the season so far. I'm interested to hear. I'm going to go in no particular order and kind of get people's thoughts, and not only on their player season, but also why. We'll start with you, Justin. Is there, players that stood out to you, but if you had to choose one?
I'll probably say Kulu. He's the best player I enjoy to watch playing football, and especially in his new position. Yeah, I feel like that's opened it up for us a lot more. Whereas before, where we was playing Sarr there, even though I love Sarr, but what he can do compared to what Kulu can do, we're just talking a whole different thing. So for me, yeah, because even if Maddison's not there, I feel like Kulu does a lot more in that field, in the midfield, than what people actually see. So for me, he's one of my players of the season.
Absolutely. He'd be mine as well. He'd certainly be in my top 1 or 2. He's done really well since been moved more centrally, if you like, in that. And we've done really well in the false 9 position in pre-season. Then done really well. He's doing really well, should I say, in that midfield rather than out on the wing. So I think I just found the answer to that. It was really interesting. I was interested to hear at the start of the season how that would work out. I think it has nicely. Connor, I saw the excitement on your face when Justin mentioned Kulusevski. So I assume you're also going to go for Dejan Kulusevski.
I am. I think he's been really good this season, playing in the middle. I feel like it's something that a lot of people are crying out for. Even last season, there were a few times where people were like, just put him in the middle and watch how much better he'll do. He'll do so much better than when he plays out on the right. Because I feel like when you stick someone like that out on the right-hand side, I feel like he becomes very predictable. I was getting very sick and tired of watching him cut in on his left and then whip one into the box, and half the time nothing would happen. But no, playing him in the middle, he's such a rare profile player. He's really creative, very strong. Like there was that, I believe that was against Man United as well, where somebody come up behind him and they just bounced off him. It might have been Ugarte or someone like that, but
yeah, it was. Just completely skinned him.
He's got it all. He's a very all-rounded player, and last season we was looking at all the stats of his work rate and things like that as well. So he's definitely carried all that on this season, and I love him to bits.
It's good to hear. Kulusevski so far definitely still in the spotlight. Ryan, you got anyone different apart from Kulusevski? Is he also impressed you though?
Yeah, I mean, I echo exactly what the guys have just said about Kulu. He probably has been our best player this season, but I would probably give a mention to Dominic Solanke. I think despite he might not have scored loads and loads of goals so far this season, I've been so impressed with the way he has really helped the attack to link up. People have gone on how Maddison and Kulu together, it's really helped Johnson come into form. Son's looking better, but I really believe that how Solanke started this season is the main reason. I just think he's got everything and he presses so well, and that's key for an Ange team. And I think he's literally got everything, and he's been so important for us this season, and I think he will be for the rest.
Yeah, okay, that's really good to hear. So we've got a couple of different names out there. We're going to add some new names in there. Bentancur, I think he's done well. I think struggled against Coventry, but I think this consistently looked better. And he's obviously been injured a lot, different managers, injuries, suspensions. So different bits with Bentancur that we haven't seen. I don't think the best of him in many spells, but I think we're starting to hopefully see that. Well, before he gets banned anyway. So yeah, Maddison. Yeah, there's been a few players that I think have really done well this year, but Ryan, you're right to mention and credit Solanke, especially recently. He's on fire, along with Brennan, who we will talk about later. Kallum, you got anyone else that's impressed you?
Oh, I've probably got to go with Timo Werner. He's really impressed me of how absolutely dog pants he's been. He's really, really impressed me of how we could waste so much money a week on him coming back, because I think that he has stopped Mikey Moore getting into the team for the last 3 to 4 weeks, and
is Mikey Moore still too young, though?
Really hurt me.
Too young to get the opportunity?
Not really. When you look at Lamine Yamal, I mean, look at him. He's 15, 16, 17 and been on the stage for nearly 3-4 years now, ripped up the Euros, playing as a better player than Rafinha at Barcelona as well, a proven professional. He's linking up with Nico Williams for the Spain squad. I mean, the kid's ceiling is immense, and Mikey Moore, I would say, is arguably up there as one of the best young English winger prospects to rival the Spanish in that regard. So, I mean, for him, it's one of them where Werner is actually limiting him. And I mean, I would even say Wilson Odebear's got a bigger ceiling than Timo Werner, to be honest. I mean, the only ceiling that Timo Werner's got is looking at the taxi out the training ground at the end of the season. Let's put it that way. But no,
wow, you're in harsh mode
I mean,
tonight.
in terms of the player that's most impressed. Oh, mate, it's a Monday night. It's been the first day back at work, so what could I say? But no, I think I'll echo what the guys have said. Solanke has actually, it's like seeing a Kane-esque type player come back who can actually link up front. So he's brought Johnson into play. It's just the patterns of play look so much clearer when we've got that focal point. So I wouldn't say he's been brilliant, but the idea of what he is meant to achieve and has come in and done so far is what makes me think he's been one of the best players, and just the impact he has had on other players in that regard, in the front line and towards the centre as well.
Okay, that's really interesting. I want to move on to a player that perhaps some people would say hasn't performed so well, and it is Christian Romero. And the only reason I do really mention this is because I read an article from The Athletic in the week that suggested that Christian Romero should be dropped for Radi Dragusin and should turn to him. So, Ryan, I'll come back to you to start us off on this topic. What have you made to Romero's start to the season? And do you think the thought of Dragusin coming in for him, or the thought Romero being dropped was using this in particular article, do you think that is right to be considered, or do you just think it's absolutely bonkers?
I think I don't think Romero's had a particularly good start to the season. He's obviously been at fault for a number of goals. You think about Gabriel's goal in the North London derby. He just lets him get away with a free header, and then you look at I think it was the third goal against Brighton. Just lets Welbeck walk into the box. And adding to that, I also think if Dragusin hadn't been sent off against Karabag in the Europa League, I think this would probably have a lot more traction than it currently does. I think a lot more people would be calling for it. Me personally, I think it's probably a little bit too early to say he needs to be dropped. I think as good as Dragusin is, he brings a lot of different qualities, and he also lacks a lot of the qualities that Romero does have, and I think we would miss them in some of the teams that we're going to be playing. We are really going to need Romero to step it up and to perform at his best and sort of get back to the levels he was last season, because he was one of our best players last season, in my opinion. But yeah, I personally wouldn't drop him. I could probably understand Ange if he did in 5 or 6 games' time if it carries on at the same trend. But no, I think at the moment you keep him in.
Okay, thank you. It comes back to, doesn't it? Being too early to judge managers, to judge players, to come to quick conclusions. Let's say. So no, I'm with you on all of that. Connor, what do you make of this article from the Athletic? I don't know if you've seen it, but you with Ryan, where you can understand where it's coming from, but it's probably not the right thing to do? Or are you under the impression some Spurs fans have reacted to this article really, really badly? I think it's certainly aimed at getting clicks, but can you understand where the article's coming from based on Romero's first 10 games or whatever it is of the season in all competitions?
I don't understand where it's coming from. I saw it. I didn't actually go and read it, but I probably should have because I want to be a journalist. But I don't know. I kind of just saw the title and was like, no way, I'm not reading that. I'm not even going to entertain it. I just think it's a bit silly, really. I think he has had good games this season. I think it's silly to suggest that he should be dropped, especially for Dragushin. What's he kind of done to, he had that ridiculous challenge against Karabag. And other than that, when he has played, he's been okay. Like, he's not really been, worthy to be put in the same sentence as Romero, I think. But yeah, no chance. I wouldn't entertain it.
You're not buying it. No, you're not buying it at all.
Never.
No, fair enough. I did think it was a bit ridiculous. I think you can question Romero's performances, but I don't think there's any right with Dragusin to just come in and say, right, it should be. It's just the way it was used, dropped in the title as well. The article wasn't as strong as the title went on to read, but the point was still pretty much the same. So thank you for that. Justin, what have you made of Romero start the season? Do you think he's one of our better players, if not our best player, when he's at his absolute best? Can he be dropped?
So anyone can be dropped, like no matter who it is, if they're playing poorly.
Yeah.
My issue with Romero is okay, cool. There's the lack of concentration, even like with the Leicester game as well. Behind him, and it's just like just pay attention. But to say to bring Dragusin in, no. And I've got nothing against Dragusin. I think he'll be a very good player for us. But to be honest, what Romero brings is so much more. And it's a shame because it's always ifs, buts, and maybes. Because if we score more goals, you're not really caring about the little lack of judge. You know what I'm saying? Like if we let in a goal, we've already scored 4, so it's not really the worst thing in the world. But what I would say though is when Bentancur finally gets his ban, if he gets his ban, I'd slightly be on moving Romero into that DM role because the way he can break up play and send the passes, I feel like that would work just for that time. But other than that, yeah, I wouldn't be dropping Romero. We don't really have proper backup when we're thinking about it because if we drop Romero, plus that's one of our captains gone from the team, then you bring in Dragusin, then he and Van der Ven have to get that link up. And I wouldn't be risking that in the Prem games. But when it comes to Europa, then yeah, I've got no problem with that at all. Just to mainly rest him.
Okay. Thank you very much. I mean, Kallum, we haven't really spoke much at all, have we, about Christian Romero? But what have been your thoughts overall when he start to the season? Dragusin, does he deserve an opportunity? Obviously, we get quite a lot from his agent. Surprisingly, we haven't yet for the international break. I don't want to speak too soon. But does he deserve a crack?
Well, there's a couple of points to address there. Obviously, you know my opinion on Dragusin's age, and I think he's a melt. I think he should just keep his mouth shut and just get on with actually representing his players, not riling up the press. But that's another story for another day. I think what it is with Romero, I think that his head has been turned, and it's just based on what information has been out there. I think it's that he is looking to his future and thinking if these teams like Real, Barcelona, PSG, who have all been named to be looking at him, then maybe he is thinking for the next step as such in his career, because obviously he's won the World Cup. He's done that. He's won the Copa America. He's done that for the internationals. He's playing with Messi. He's playing with all the best Argentine legends and players, as they like to say. So it's about where he sees himself next. And I think that what he's doing is he's playing a game as such where he's always thinking, who's in the crowd, who's doing this, who's doing that. It's always like he's kind of looking up there to see if there's a scout who he knows, or his agents sitting talking to someone in the crowd. And I'd say it with tongue in cheek, but the whole thing about it is that ever since them articles came out back towards the end of last year, he has been making the same mistakes. And it's one of them where you just think, what is he looking to achieve? Does he want to drop his market value at Spurs? Does he want to have a bad season so someone comes in cheaply for him?
You think he's influenced by that?
I reckon that there's definitely an underlying theory to it. I wouldn't say completely, but I think that there's some merit to it. But I do think he's had a poor season. I wouldn't say that Dragassin's much better, because ultimately he got his second start, because he weren't great in the Newcastle game. He got his second start in the Europa League and made a completely rash, stupid challenge, because he was ball watching as well. So it didn't really make any eightpence worth of difference wherever he was going to get in the squad, or even in the starting lineup. But I do think there is this rhetoric around Christian Romero, where I think he feels that he's probably better than Spurs now. I do see that a little bit in the way that he's acting, a little bit on the pitch, the way that even his agents and a lot of journalists back in Argentina act as well. They seem to big him up a lot more than the British press do, the British pundits do as well. So there's definitely something there. But in all honesty, I just don't think he's had a good season. But it's like the guys have said about other options. We don't have the option to be able to throw him in there straight away. I mean, who are our backups? Dragassin, well, he's banned for another game or two in the Europa League. And who does that leave? Ben Davies, well, if anything, we'll end up overplaying Van der Ven. Ashley Phillips is out on loan at Stoke, so he ain't going to come back anytime soon and do anything. So we are limited for it. And even if we do say that Bentancur gets banned, you can't just push Romero up into the middle, because then that only leaves you two senior centre-backs for it as well. So even that is literally...
Is he capable, though, Kallum? Is Romero capable playing in that midfield?
I mean, he likes to play sweeper, doesn't he? So, I mean, he likes to push up forward in attacking headless runs we've seen over the last couple of seasons. So I think there is potential there for him to do it. Whether I would actually do it is another story and all that. Whether I'd have faith in him to play as a shield for the defence, or whether he just goes headless chicken and ends up doing rash challenges like Basuma's capable of doing when he plays in that position. I mean, do you have two headless chickens instead of one, sort of thing? It's why I always get concerned whenever Romero does have his rash moments. And yeah, he's calmed down on the card front this season. He doesn't seem to be getting in many fights with people, but instead he's just worrying about something else. Something is in his head.
Okay.
And I think only he'd be able to tell us that. And the thing is, he still don't speak blinking full English. And he's been over here for nearly 4 years now as well. So, I mean, that's a more
I know that bugs you.
Well, if you're going to have a vice captain, you need to have someone who's able to communicate with all the other players on the pitch as well, and pointing.
Maybe he speaks English in the dressing room. Maybe he just doesn't do it publicly. Not quite confident enough. I don't know. He just might not show it. He must speak to the players to be involved in that kind of captain's group, as you like, as vice captain. You make a really good point. You know, there must be a form of communication or a translator in that dressing room. I know there's a multicultural, there's a load of different languages in that dressing room, isn't there? So I'm sure that it'd be quite easy to get the message across. But I think you make a good point. It's no good having someone that no one can understand. So you would have thought there'd been more to it. But Connor, what do you make of what you've kind of heard of Romero, the whole discussion? Can he play the six? Can he play in that midfield?
As I was doing all this with my hands, I was trying to get your attention, but no, I don't think you'll be able to do it, because, like Kallum said, obviously then you're playing all three of your centre-back options at the same time, which you really don't want to do, especially if you've got players like Basuma and stuff like that who would probably be able to fill in. You wouldn't take their chance away to then play a centre-back there. And also, think about it, Romero, look how many times Bentancur has to take the ball on the half-turn, has to play in tight spaces. You don't see your centre-backs doing that because they're always looking forwards. Romero's then going to have to take the ball on the half-turn, and I really don't fancy him doing that with somebody pressing him from behind.
Okay, that's really interesting. Justin, I'll bring you in on this. Can Romero play in that midfield? And do you buy the talk that Kallum mentions that he could be distracted by something off the pitch, or do you just think that it's just a coincidence? He's had a bit of a wobbly start, but it's what it is.
But you have to remember, it's still a job at the end of the day for them. If you got the option of getting a promotion and moving to a better job, most people would be thinking about it. I don't know if he's down tooling or anything like that. But he does look distracted, but I feel like a lot of our players just don't pay attention. Full stop. The only reason why I'm saying for him to be in that 6 role is more just for his distribution game, because he plays balls what a lot of our players don't even look for. He just instantly sees it and goes for it, especially his link up with Maddison. And then his lack of concentration, not having to be the last defender, kind of helps as well. But that's just on an idea. But as the guys were saying, we don't have the squad. And that's one of our main issues for this season is we don't have the squad. To even say the idea of dropping a Doji for who? For what? Davis? Like, come on. Like, it's not happening. So that's where our main problems are going to be. Unless we're about to promote Dorrington or players like that, I don't see what we can actually do. But I'd like to try him there on a nothing game, but that would have been in pre-season. But obviously, we did what we did. We signed who we signed. I'm just worried that we're going to overplay our players again, and then we're going to throw Dragosin when he hasn't played for several weeks, and then expect him to be a top performer. It's just, it don't happen like that, and that's where I think a lot of our problems are going to come from.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the guys mentioned it. You mentioned it there again as well. I agree. I think there's going to be a lot of games this season, especially with the new European format. So I do worry about like Van der Ven getting overplayed, overworked, as you mentioned there. I think it's a really good point, and we've got to be really, really careful. The January window could already be important for us. But Ryan, you sat and watched this kind of discussion go on, if you like, without saying anything. So where do you stand with the whole Romero situation? Do you believe that he could be distracted?
It's difficult because I think if you've obviously the Real Madrid links, if you're linked to a club the size of Real Madrid, your head probably might be turned slightly. But we are talking about a centre-back a World Cup winning centre-back who started most, if not all, games for Argentina during that tournament. I think based on his international pedigree and footballing pedigree in general, I think it would be hard for me to believe that some links, which may or may not be true, would really affect his performance on the pitch. And the dates may line up. Yeah, he hasn't had the best start to the season, and that's roughly when these links come about, if I remember. But I think the team has just been settling into the season. I think there's just been general growing pains. I think Romero could just be a casualty of that, and I think as we start to click, I think he should do as well. I don't really buy into this Romero in the 6 as the guys have touched on. I think even though we have got January ahead, I think it'd be incredibly unwise to play all of our defenders at once because that would cost us a lot of money, and we know what Levy's like with his money. He's probably not going to want to spend it. So, I would say no to that one.
No, that's a fair enough answer. Before we get on to kind of end of season ambitions, and we do finally move on to West Ham, one man I do want to talk about, and it's only fair we credit him. It is Brennan Johnson after all that he's been through. So, Connor, I'll kick it off with you. What are your thoughts on his form? I mean, he's kept it going. Was it 77 now for club and country? Something like that. It's incredible. Just finds a way. It doesn't matter how it goes in, a couple of tap-ins along the way, but it's gone in. He's having the impact. He's done really well, hasn't he? After he went through a really tough time, which, feels like quite a long time ago now.
It does. Even last season, I've always been a big fan of Johnson. But I'm really happy for him at the moment. I had a little bet with one of my friends. I said to him, Johnson will get 20 goals and assists this season. So he's starting to build up to that. So hopefully it happens and I can prove my mate. But yeah, no, I've been really happy with Johnson, and I hope he keeps doing well. It's good because after the Coventry game, luckily I got to go to. He come over and you could see how timid he was, and he looked like he didn't really want to do it. And I can't remember what player it was, but he was getting like pushed towards us all, and we were chanting at him. But yeah, no, it's good to see that he's turned it around and he's knuckled down, focused, and proved everybody wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. So credit to him. I mean, if you are listening, you sent him abuse, then shame on you. Hopefully you feel bad about it. But credit to the fans inside the stadium for getting behind him. I think it's important he differentiates the social media fans, the few that have done something just no one, I don't think, could defend, especially your own player. I don't think it'd be right to do it for a rival player. It's especially not right to do it to your own player. It makes it 10 times worse, if you ask me. So credit to him, because as a player that was clearly lacking in confidence a few weeks ago, now thriving in confidence. Ryan, talk to me about Brennan Johnson. How much has he impressed you in recent weeks, and can he keep this form going, these goals?
Yeah, I hope so. I think when we talk about an Ange system, I really think he is perfect for it. And I think, like I touched on earlier about the team kind of growing into the season, I think Johnson has as well. I mean, it wasn't actually that long ago that people were calling for him to be dropped, and he was benched for Odebear in the Newcastle game. And since then, he's gone on an amazing scoring streak. And yeah, he's been really, really good. It's been great to see the reaction. Obviously, since Coventry when he scored, he seems to have grown more and more confident with the fans, and the fans have obviously grown a bit more appreciative of him. And we're also forgetting that, this is a player who got 5 goals and I think 8 or 9 assists last season. And this is a young man, and that they're not bad numbers for your first season at a top Premier League club. And I think he's only going to get better. He's obviously working day in, day out with the coaches to try and be the perfect Ange winger, and he's got time on his side. And I think you're going to see over this season and probably over the next one as well, constant development. And I think eventually he's going to be a really, really important player for us.
Definitely, nicely said. But you mentioned there, Ryan, that he was dropped against Newcastle for Odegaard. Do you think that helped him possibly? I think we've seen it with players like Son in the past, where he's benched. I don't know if you remember Leicester, and come off the bench because he scored a hat-trick, I think, in that game. So it can it can help certain players. Do you think it helped him in this case to fight for his position in the team?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's great that we've obviously got competition for places. I mean, I was thought that Odegaard was quite promising in the couple of games he did have. He looked bright. He looked like he had something to offer on both flanks. And I think that will just give Johnson that reminder that he has got someone to keep him on his toes. I mean, last season, I think for the system, he was probably favoured over Kulusevski. And obviously when Kulusevski eventually moved into that false 9 towards the end of last season, I think Johnson really had that right wing spot nailed on, and there was no one else really to challenge him. And I think obviously with Odegaard and Mikey Moore emerging, there is now there was a real threat that, if he didn't perform, he was going to get dropped. And like I said, since then, I think obviously not the Arsenal game, but most games since then, he's been electric, and he's scored, I think it's 7 and 7 now because he scored for Wales. So yeah, I think it has helped him.
Yeah, definitely. I think he's in really good form. And I think it did help him. That's why it's interesting. I wanted to ask you that because it can. Justin, what have you made of Brennan Johnson? Can he keep this going? And would you say he has a regular place in the this team now in the starting 11? Ryan makes a good point. I think Kallum mentioned it as well, that it wasn't that long ago before he found himself on the bench. So how well has he done?
Yeah, see, I'm a mixed bag with Johnson.
Okay.
Even he had a great season to do the numbers what he did. Yeah, and especially when you know you're coming in as the next signing after Harry Kane's just left. That's the thing. The only thing for me is it just depends on how Ange. So if he plays in less as say a touchline winger where he has to be beating the player one on one, then that's where my problem is. But anytime it's just a quick ball over the top, he's got to beat most defenders pace wise, and he can finish because really he's more of a forward than a winger. So that's only where my problem is a lot of people are critiquing him on something what he's not used to doing compared to he got the goals, he got the assists, he knows how to get into the position. I feel he understands the system. It's just I don't think he's got the talent to do that touchline side. But then, as we've seen, especially since Solanke's been there, it's been a bit of a difference where he's not just hugging that side; he's cutting inside a lot. Move over there, or Porro move over to the wing to keep the width. So yeah, it's a bit of a weird one. I feel like people just went over the top with the abuse. There was no real need for it if they really looked at it. And if they wanted to send their abuse anywhere, then send it at the owner of the club, because the owner of the club put us in a position that Johnson was going to be our only person on that wing. He put us in a position to get him that abuse of again getting him in just after he told Harry Kane and not really doing nothing with it. So I think everything just got blown out of proportion. He's a good player. He's the same age as Kulu. So I look at it as like uh, if we're going to use Johnson as he's playing bad when Kulu was playing bad, but we was called to keep playing Kulu. That's why I just look at it and think, yeah, if everyone just bit it out of proportion, to be honest. He's going to keep scoring goals because he understands the system. He knows where he needs to be when the ball is in a certain position of the pitch. And if all of our players start moving like that, then it goes below.
Okay, no, that's fair enough. Callum, I'm not going to ask you about Brennan Johnson because we spoke about him a lot and we're both in agreement about how well he's done. But I will kick it off with you on a new topic about where we'll finish come the end of the season, something we haven't spoken about a lot in the last few weeks. At this moment in time, Callum, I mean, I think it's really hard to do personally. So, pressure's on you. How do you think our season's going to go in all competitions? The league. Yeah, talk me through it.
Well, seeing as you think I'm a genie, I will rub my head. I'll
I never
use my
said that.
crystal ball and try and guess it. But no, I'm predicting with my voodoo weird crap and all that. I'm thinking probably fourth would be. Well, that's where I would hope we finish. I think that would be a good
And
progression.
you think we can do it
with
at
it?
this moment in time?
I reckon so. I mean, there's a lot of worse clubs out there. I think that enough of them will fall away. I think Champions League will catch up to Villa. They'll start struggling. I think United and Chelsea will still implode because they usually do. So I think it
Newcastle?
leaves us as best of the rest for. I don't even think that Eddie Howe could be there by Christmas. Let's put it that way at the
Wow.
moment, based on how the
What with the England
ownership's
job?
going. Yeah, there's been weird rumours going around in regards to different clubs that are looking at him. Not really the England job, to be fair. I think that's gone
Right, okay.
quiet, but I think there's more chance of him getting sacked, to be honest.
Really?
On that, so yeah, I think that fourth would, yeah, because they're going to just think, well, we ain't got our money back. Well, because you ain't invested enough money into the squad because you've hamstrung yourself by financial conduct authority, but that's a whole nother financial talk that I won't get into on that one.
I wouldn't say he's under pressure though at all. I think they start the season well.
No, I think that he's
No?
probably one of them managers that probably is on the list of being under pressure compared to others.
Really?
To be honest, mate. But I
more
think
than Ten Hag?
yeah. Oh no, he's on a point.
No,
He's
okay.
literally got a one-way trip to the job centre and all that. To be honest, mate, by the end of this season, so that one's nailed on. If Radcliffe and Ineos have their way, but no, I think that definitely there's got to be a realisation that we've got to be the best of the rest. So we've got to let Liverpool, City, and Arsenal fight out for the league. We need to push for. We need to push more towards going for Europa League, getting a top 4 spot, stabilising where we are, because we're not going to be a league challenger. I think if anyone's got delusions of grandeur, then it really is a delusion, to be honest, unless one of them other big clubs really screws up. So I think top 4, at least get to semis or quarterfinals of the Europa League, probably even could get to the final, I would say, and hopefully win it.
So you're being positive.
Yeah, and then maybe say quarterfinals of the Carabao Cup. I'm hoping we beat City based on Pep's comments, where he said he's going to play a second team, but realistically, their second team is probably better than half of our first teamers as well, so they could probably fill up half of that. And then obviously I don't know how the FA Cup's going to go yet, so that's too hard to say. Knowing our luck, we'll probably get City or Liverpool in the first round. It's always the way. So,
okay, thank you, Kallum. I like your positivity though, apart from the end. No, I think you're optimistic in terms of how we can do in Europe, the league, and just general competitions. So I think you struggled to beat that on optimism. Ryan, you've been optimistic throughout tonight. I also like that. How's what's it going to look like, should I say, come the end of the season for Spurs?
I'm gonna go on my heart. I'm gonna say it's gonna be a final this season. We're gonna win a trophy. I'm gonna go with we're gonna win the Europa League. I think we are the bookies' favourites. I think we are. I just look up and down the Europa League table, and I think realistically, I think not even where we're going. I think where we are right now, as we look at that Europa League table, I can't see a team that is that much better than us or is that much of a threat to us winning it. I genuinely believe that the new format, obviously, haven't got any Champions League teams dropping down. I really think this is
that's massive for us. Although there's more games, that's massive.
Yeah, I think it's a massive opportunity to win something. And as for the league, I think once you get to the business end of the season, I think you've obviously going to have to make a decision which competition do you favour. I would probably throw all eggs into the Europa League basket. If that means that we come 5th instead of 4th, then I'm totally fine with that, because I still think Villa are going to be up there based on how they've started this season. I think that's probably it, top 4 challenges wise. I don't really think Newcastle will be there.
No.
Man United, obviously not, the way they've started. And then as for the cups, it'd be nice to get somewhere. But like Kallum said, we'll probably end up with City or Liverpool at some point. So I'm not going to get too optimistic on that. So but I'm going to go with the Europa League. I think we're going to do it.
Okay, loving it. That's even more optimistic than Kallum. We're gonna get a trophy, and I thought his was fairly positive. So it's good. I think it's important to remember that. I think we still are playing well, and I still think we're on the right path. I don't think it's all panic stations. So I'm really liking the positivity. And often you get it after loss. I'm gonna credit the international break. Maybe one useful thing it actually does do. But Justin, how are you feeling? It's going to look for Spurs come the end of the season at this moment in time. A bit of a rocky start, but can the ship be directed in the right direction?
Yeah, to be honest, I'm going to have faith that Levy's going to help and build this team a bit more come January. So how we're playing at the moment with additions to players and removing, say, Reguilon, I can see us going to win at least the Europa. Obviously, League Cup's a bit of a weird one because we've got Man City. Again, you just never know on the draw. But as the lads were saying, we already know what teams are in the Europa, but that's not changing. The only thing what's going to change is teams dropping out. So, and there's less time to study Tottenham with that as well. So I feel like we could do a lot better in those games and get a result. And I have faith. Like, if this guy really says he wins stuff every time on the second year, why not? Why not us? Like, I remember when we got in Ramos and everyone was like, oh, this guy always wins. And I'm like, well, this is Tottenham. Oh, no. And we ended up doing it. So, yeah, I've got faith that Levy's going to make sure the squad isn't the same as it is right now come the end of the season. So, yeah, I believe that we can go do something. But in the league, I'm saying maybe 6th or 7th, just because we're going to focus more on Europe.
Okay, love it. The positivity is being reflected in the chat. That positive kind of vibe. Barney says he thinks that Spurs will win the Europa League and possibly the semi-finals of one of the other domestic cups and finish between 5th and 7th. I'd absolutely take that. And Connor, my question to you before I ask you about generally what Spurs can achieve, and I think Ryan mentioned it there. Would you take finishing outside the top 4 if it meant that we won a trophy? Surely you would.
If it's the FA Cup or Carabao Cup, yeah, I wouldn't mind that.
Europa
Obviously,
League?
Europa League would be perfect anyway. If we finish,
Yeah.
if we finish 5th and won it anyway, we just go straight into the Champions League, so it wouldn't really matter. But I can see us finishing outside of the top 4 this season, just because of how strong some of the other teams are. Chelsea look better than they were last season. Liverpool have started a lot quicker than I thought they would under Slot, and then of course Arsenal and Man City will fill up the other 2 places as they have done for the last few years. But I think if fortune's in our favour, then and we don't get lots of injuries, unlike last season where we lost Van de Ven, Maddison, very big players at the time. Then yeah, I think we could potentially push into the top 4, but that's easier said than done. And like Justin said, if we get stuff done in January, then hopefully we can push on further than 5th, what we got last season.
Fingers crossed. But we have to see. You have to come back to this and see who was kind of the closest. But I hope you're all right. And certainly a lot more positive than I am. I'm undecided at this moment in time. I think that this could be the year that we do win a trophy. I think Andrew's record and the fact that you've got that thing in Europa League, as the guys you mentioned about Champions League teams not falling down, as Ryan mentioned, I think that's massively in our favour. I think Carabao Cup quickest route to win it, but you've got Manchester City. But I think Pep has already talked about, as you alluded to, the second team playing. So can we get through there? So there's a lot of if, nuts, and babies, but it could be a good season. But it hasn't been the start we wanted. Whether it's disastrous or not, I'll leave it up to the individual to decide. But it's not what we or Andrew would have wanted going into the season. But I don't think it does define our season. We will now move on to West Ham. And some quick team news ahead of the game. Tottenham are hopeful that Richarlison, Odegaard, and Son could all take part in training at some point this week with the squad and all be in contention for West Ham. This is very, very positive news. It was first reported by Paul O'Keefe that this is a possibility and then confirmed by Alistair Gold in the last 24 hours to record it. So yesterday. That's really, really good news, I think. So we will move on to kind of our thinking and thoughts ahead of the game. So Kallum, we'll kick it off with you. London derby after the international break. How are you feeling about it? West Ham, they've been quite unpredictable, haven't they? So what are your thoughts going into this one at the weekend?
Definitely an unpredictable game, but there wouldn't be anything better than us beating West Ham and resulting in their manager being sacked. It would really make my weekend from that. But it's one of them games where it's like a cup final for them. We just treat it like it's just another game. Probably why we look naive, and they play absolutely diabolical for 6 months to 8 months of the season, and yet the 2 games they have against us, it's like if they play against Millwall, they're possessed. They are just literally like all over us. So I mean, it's one of them where I would say we're probably in a bit better form than them. I would say that we've probably got a stronger squad than them because they can't seem to muster having a striker up front, to be honest. Because Fulcrook's been a waste of money. He's just another Fernando Loriente, to be honest, in my opinion, just the German version. So it's one of them where if we can do anything, we need to play well against them. We need to use it as a springboard. London derbies are always great for us. We have to take momentum from them and use them to go on to the next things. What's that? Yeah, no, he won't change his tactics. Not going to happen. And
yeah, commenting. If people can't see it, comment in the chat about Postecoglou's tactics.
Yeah, good luck on getting him to change his tactics. He changes personnel round, not tactics. It's never been his mantra to go that way, and I don't think it'll ever happen unless we change manager at Spurs that we'll get a new tactic. So, yeah, I'm quietly optimistic. It is a 12:30 kickoff, so it's not too bad. So, yeah, I think we can do it. We have to start quick though, and we need to start quick, then get a second, then get a third, and don't switch off for the second half. Because if not, we'll end up with egg on our face, mate.
Yeah, we don't want that. So thank you, Callum, for that little preview. Ryan, how you feeling ahead of this London derby? And Callum says they're 12:30. Broad daylight, Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. I say daylight, I don't know this time of year. The clocks are going back. But how do you kind of view this one from a Spurs point of view? Obviously, I did mention they're West Ham unpredictable, but we know they're capable of a result against us. So are you confident going in this? Is this the game we need after that Brighton setback?
I don't think you can ever be too confident against West Ham. It seems to always be that team that we always seem to slip up against. But I do think it could be one of the perfect games for us to have. Obviously, losing that momentum against Brighton, I think if we could beat West Ham, it would kind of reignite the spark that we have from 5 in a row, and could possibly just kind of brush Brighton under the carpet, because I think that's fresh in everyone's minds at the moment, and everyone's sort of thinking, "Oh, here we go again with Spurs." I think it'd be a difficult game. Lopetegui will definitely set up very compact, very defensive, and they'll try to limit our attacks. And I just hope we don't see anything like we did against Arsenal and Newcastle, where we kind of just cluelessly pass it sideways for however long. We need to really find a way to break these teams down, and it only takes a couple of mistakes. And West Ham have got some great players on the counter attack, Bowen, Kudus, and we could be punished. But I'm optimistic. I think we could pull something off. But yeah, I'm not gonna get too excited just yet.
No, nor am I. It's one of those games we've already mentioned already, so definitely. But I think they had a good transfer window, West Ham, I will say. I think they, I don't think it's gelled at the moment. I know they won their last game, Ipswich. I don't think there's a lot to go by at home as well against a newly promoted team that put a lot into that draw against Villa. But I think it could come together. I think that defence in particular, if they get it right, introducing Wan-Bissaka, Kilman and Todibo to that back line, and it does feel like a really strong back line. Is that midfield? Can I get the balance right? Rodriguez, Souček, I'm not quite sure. Maybe that's where they will struggle, but attacking options plentiful. Yes, okay, maybe striker, no, but they've still got options. Antonio, Folkroyd, Ings, whatever you think of the quality, they've got the options, certainly got the quantity. But yeah, you mentioned there, Bowen, Kudus, Somerville. They have these options. Paqueta, I'm forgetting, in that midfield. So this is a West Ham team and squad, full of confidence. So we'll have to see, but have to see how it unfolds. But they've certainly got talent. But Connor, how do you view this game? What do you reckon?
I think we'll win, to be honest, especially if you say that we're going to could have the likes of Odegaard, Son and Richarlison back. It just gives us the options, because before, recently, where, maybe we'll lack ideas, get later on into a game, and then we don't really have the options on the bench at the moment. I'm trying to think what game it was where we were struggling a little bit, and I saw that Andrew was preparing substitutions, and then I look at the touchline and I see it's Sarr and Basuma, and I'm thinking, oh great, what's that going to do? But now, if we actually have the personnel, then I'm sure we'll win.
That's what we like. I think we've got a West Ham fan in the chat. This is, as a simple man, I see a Spurs fixture, I root against them. I mean, I think that kind of sums up a whole thing about it. Means a lot to them. kind of supported our point, I guess, there. But no, I really appreciate you tuning in and always interested. They're obsessed, but it's interesting to get their thoughts, their side of things, even if they are London rivals. So to get involved, Sandy, in the comments below. But Justin, how are you feeling? West Ham. I mean, we mentioned, didn't we, off air before about your kind of experiences as a Spurs fan. I'm sure that you'll be used to this type of game and not getting too carried away when it comes against West Ham. Do you think this one's different? We can get a victory over them?
Yeah, for me, like, I'm not a fan of West Ham at all. Like, they're jarring. Yeah, we need to beat them. It's one game that I actually work at the stadium as a steward, so if one of them games I don't work at because I know how it can. I just hope if we've got a full strong squad, Don's back, and we've at least got or at least Richardson on the wing that is in backup. Yeah, I'm not too worried. I just feel if we go toe to toe with them, which they won't try and do, they will have to try and sit back. That's where my only worry is. If we're not clinical, then that's where the thing is. But with Son coming back, and I feel how we're playing at the moment, we needed Son on that left to be able to finish them chances off. So yeah, I'm pretty confident that we can at least get a win, but we're definitely letting in a goal.
Yeah, so it's very fair and quite a good. Yeah, if you're a better man, I think that's definitely the right thing to do with Spurs are involved to go with us to concede. But mention team news there. We'll move it into the lineup. I'm really interested to hear how all your lineups would look like before we get into score predictions. So Connor, I'll come back to you firstly. What will be your lineup? Would there be any changes in there? Let's assume that everyone's fit before we do these lineups. Let's assume Son, Odegaard, Richarlison, they're all fitting in for contention, obviously, whether we take that risk or not. So Connor, would you make any changes from that Brighton defeat to which will be at the time 2 weeks ago?
Probably not. And I definitely won't drop Udogie. No, I just keep the same team. It's the same. It's the team that's been getting us through games recently. But yeah, no, I see no reason to change. You know, it's one game that we lost. There's going to be bumps. It's a long process. So I'm happy to keep the same team. And obviously now that we've got the players back, just as long as we call upon them, you know, in the 60th, 65th, 70th minute, and not too late on in the game, then I'm more than happy to keep the same team.
Yeah, definitely. I think definitely Odegaard and Richarlison, if they're available and, you know, not too much of a risk, I think, off the bench, or being listed on the bench, should I say, is definitely the right way, and utilising them from the bench. Son, I think, will start if he's fit. I don't think there's any situation Son finds himself on the bench. I think if he's fit, he'll be in the lineup. So we'll have to see. A lot of Spurs fans hoping he will be. I think a lot of it is to do with Son's presence, but a lot of it is fans' annoyance at Timo Werner at the minute. Ryan, what would your lineup be for West Ham? And obviously, if they do sit back, how can we break them down? Is there anything we need to change? We need to keep that attacking midfield three of Bentancur, Kulusevski, and Maddison.
Yeah, I think having players like Kulusevski and Solanke are going to be really, really key to take on their centre backs. Obviously, you've got Kallum, who's a very, very physical defender, and I think you're going to need players like Solanke to really try and outmuscle them and hold the ball. In terms of defence, I agree with Connor. I will keep Udogie in, and Romero as well. We obviously touched on him earlier. I don't think Dragishin warrants a start, and I do think Jed Spence does have a case to play, whether that be left back or right back. I personally wouldn't start him. I do think though that Ange should try and give him maybe 15-20 minutes if the game's going well, because I think he's looked really bright when he's come on, and I think he is a really good option to have if we use him correctly. And like you said, it'd be great to have all the Richarlison, Odegaard back, and obviously I would drop Werner and put Son on.
Okay, that's really interesting to hear. I think a lot of people will agree with you. Justin, what would your lineup look like ahead of West Ham? Is there anything different that the guys haven't picked up on, haven't mentioned?
No, it's keep it exactly the same, like they're saying. As long as Sonny's starting on that left, I've got no worries. If Son's not, then I'd take the risk and play more. I just can't see Timo in this lineup. I don't even want to see him come off the bench. That's what I'm hoping if everyone is back. It's just options, because it's horrible when you know that you've got no real attacking options. What's going to be able to come onto the pitch? With a team like West Ham, we need to kill them. We need to kill them early. So I feel like if we change up the lineup, who are you dropping for who? That's where our squad isn't that big. That there's no one you're dropping at the moment, other than obviously taking Timo back out.
Yeah, no, you make a good point. Callum, what would your lineup look like? Any changes? I mean, I don't know about you, but I agree with Justin. There isn't that many changes that we actually can make.
That I would probably make, it'd be Timo out for Son if he is fit, though, and I would really question that, to be honest. The only other one that that's maybe a little bit left wingish is I'd bring in Basuma for Bentancur. And the reason I say that is because he's very good as a press resistant midfielder. I don't think Bentancur's looked very good under pressure in the last couple of weeks, to be honest. So I think potentially someone like Basuma coming in there, because I wouldn't put Sarr in that position. He's too attacking. He wants to always get forward. But Basuma can sit there and hold quite well within reason. And he doesn't lose the ball often. And if he does, he's like a machine. The geezer will just keep going after you and hunting you down. So I think Son and Basuma for Werner and Bentancur, I think there'd be my two changes, mate, because at the end of the day, other than that, there's nothing else. There's no one else who really can come in. I don't think that can improve first team straight there and then.
Okay. That's really interesting to hear. Thank you very much. I think we're all in agreement there would be that many changes. For me, I put Basuma in for Bentancur as well. I just think a little bit of stability, a little bit of protection up against West Ham's really strong attacking force and midfield dynamism, if you like. And with all the guys at the back line, there's a lot of speculation about it on social media. I'll keep it the same. There's no reason for it. I don't think there's anything massively concerning. First half defensively sound against Brighton, and I think it was more individual errors and a lack of concentration more than like, okay, you're not good enough or you're not fit for the system. It's just little things like that. I don't think it's disastrous. I think hopefully we solved the zonal marking issue, the set piece issue, when we find out against West Ham sort of physical side, even though there's no David Moyes. I hope that's not going to come back to bite. But yeah, that's really interesting to hear all of your teams. I think mine's similar. Before we wrap up, though, we will go around the panel and do score predictions. Ryan, we'll come to you first. What's the outcome going to be?
I'm going to go with 3-1 Tottenham. I think we're going to score early. I'll go Brennan Johnson to score early, and then I think West Ham will be left chasing the game, and then we'll score a couple of goals. But I think second half we might end up conceding one. But 3-1 Spurs.
3-1 Spurs. I like that. I'm going to go with 2-1 Spurs as well to keep up the positivity. Connor, score predictions?
4-1 Spurs.
4-1 Spurs. Oh, love it. Locatelli sacking as well, as Kallum mentions. Is that too much to ask for, do you think, Connor?
Hopefully. I'm not really bothered whether he gets sacked afterwards or not. I actually find it. I know, obviously, I don't know if it sounds a bit strange, but I actually want him to stay. I want to see what he can do with the players he's been given. I think it'd be a bit silly for them to sack him now. I think give him a chance. I said a little bit earlier in the season. I said I think it will click with West Ham as well. I believe they've got the quality there. So personally, I'd like to see him stay and see what he can do.
Yeah, they just need time, I think, for it to gel. I don't know if he's the right manager or not, but I think he's too quick to jump to conclusions and make that decision. Give him the season, and if you're not happy, then you bring in a new manager. Simple as that. Got score predictions in the chat. Jay goes 3-1 Tottenham. Barney goes 3-1 Spurs. We've got Anne, who goes 3-1 Spurs or 4-2 Spurs. So we'll take either of them 3-1. Ideally, conceding less goals. Maybe Andrew prefer 4-2, scoring one more goal. Justin, what's your score prediction in this London derby?
That's funny you said 4-2 because that's actually how I see it might go in, with them scoring first, us then taking over, reacting well, dominating, and then just getting a late goal after.
I'll take that. Do you know, I thought you were going to say them scoring 4. I was going to go, surely not. And I mean, I know we're bad defensively, but not that bad. But no, I'm glad that wasn't the case. So, no, thank you very much. It's really good. Kallum, I bet you find a way to spoil the party with Spurs wins. What's your prediction?
9-6 to West Ham. We are going for a tennis score. Nah, I'm going to stick with what I went for on Park Lane last night. I'm going to go 3-1. It's probably going to be a set piece goal that we concede, that or a lapse in concentration. So, yeah, I think 3-1's quite a safe bet on this one.
Love it. So we're all gone for Spurs wins. We've all been quite positive tonight. So that's what we like. I think that's the right way to end this week's show. Thank you to everyone who's listened, who's contributed and supported us once again. If you are new to the channel, don't forget to smash that subscribe button. It means a lot. It helps the channel and the podcast grow. Even if you are listening on the podcast platform, come back over to YouTube, search Scarfy Spurs. So we do smash the subscribe button. Even if you don't come back, it does help the channel. But I mentioned podcast platforms there. If you are listening on there, big up to you. Also, don't forget to drop us a follow. And if you enjoy what you're listening, enjoy what you're hearing, don't forget to drop us a 5-star review. You can find the weekly Spurs shows on there. Over on YouTube, you've got a wide range of England, Premier League and Spurs content to choose from as well. So thank you very much to my panel tonight. A really good panel full of positivity, youth, Kallum, and energy. No, you're still young as well. But Kallum, thank you very much for coming on. I'm going to give you a chance to react to that. Where can people find you and talk to people about your Wednesday show with the channel, a Premier League show, which you are often relegated to?
Yeah, thanks as always, H. I will react. I will create havoc on the Wednesday show. You have given me my own platform now, so I can run it as I like. It's great to be on with everyone here. Great to talk Spurs, mate. So yeah, you can find me on Wednesday night on the Premier League show, 7:30. But depends on if I'm late. It's sometimes 7:45. Depends on what time I turn up from work. But obviously, if anyone wants to go and check us out, we will be reviewing, I think, is it game day 8 this week?
Yeah.
So obviously, no review show. It'll be a preview show for it as well. So
yeah, previewing game week 8.
Yeah, so that'd be good. But yeah, no, thanks for always having me on, mate. Obviously, people can find me at Kallum Stubbs 97. You can check me out on my own channel with the guys as well, Park Lane Podcast, and see me at 7:30 for the Premier League show, and you can see Fat Dave and Fat Pod lads afterwards at 9 o'clock.
I love that name. Thank you very much, Kallum. Thank you for your ongoing contribution and help with the channel and hosting the show, steering the wheel this year as I aim to sit and pass my GCSEs, but we'll see how that goes. But Kallum, thank you very much for volunteering to do that. Ryan, a very solid debut from you, if I may say so. Thank you very much for coming on. Where can people find you across social media for those who don't know?
No, thank you very much for having me. It's been great. I am quite active on Twitter. I like to drop replies, get involved in Spurs, England, Premier League conversations. That's only place you'll find me really. Other than that, I'm watching Spurs, moaning about Spurs, something about that. But that's pretty much where you'll find me. But thanks again, Harry. It's been great.
No, thank you very much. You can go find Ryan there as well. Talking of solid, consistent debuts, Justin, thank you very much for making your debut. Where can people find you across social media and talk to people about The Right Show?
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it a lot. You can find me on X at The Right Show. And other than that, you can find me live at Tottenham games, 102 section, pitch side. See me there. Thank you.
Lovely. Thank you very much. I really appreciate you coming on. Connor, thank you very much for coming on. Once again, it's been a while, but it's always great to have you on. I know you said you enjoy that, coming on. So that's absolutely fantastic to hear. Where can people find you across social media?
Only on Twitter usually, under Hotspur things. But to be honest, I haven't really been tweeting very much. I haven't been enjoying it as much, but every now and then I'll always get involved in conversation. But yeah, thanks again for having me, and I look forward to coming on again at some point.
Absolutely, you're welcome anytime. So thank you to everyone who listened, who watched, and just everyone tonight. So thank you very much as we previewed West Ham, dissected kind of the season so far. I think we're all remaining positive, all on, hopefully, believe we're on the right path. So thank you to everyone as always. Hopefully next time we'll be talking will be on Monday. Show might be hosted by Kallum, still yet to be confirmed. I might be on a college visit. Sorry, Kallum, to throw you in there again. I mean, if we win, then I'm on. It's as simple as that. If I finally could decide that. So we'll see how it happens against West Ham. But I cannot cope with losing to West Ham and going into school a couple of days later, full of West Ham supporters. They play it down that it doesn't mean a lot to them. We all know it does, but we don't want to see that. A massive come on you Spurs. Let's hope for a Spurs win like we all predicted. Come on you Spurs.
You were working as a manager at Celtic Park when we met you. We picked you out, you shook us up and turned us around. You've turned us into something new. And Postecoglou, you know that we believe it when you say you're gonna change it. And Postecoglou, we're the mighty Tottenham and nobody's gonna stop them. Oh, we look so fine in blue and lily white. And then he said to me, I'm from a land down under. Postecoglou, baby. Postecoglou, oh. Postecoglou, baby. Postecoglou, oh. Postecoglou, baby. Postecoglou, oh. Postecoglou, baby. Postecoglou, oh.